I think Riz has put together like an amazing community on like actually people that might even have a conflict of interest because the businesses might even like cross in there or whatever. They're still like happy to network, happy to speak about their trading and everything. I think we've met like very nice people, hardworking people, or super young.
One thing that was interesting was 2 years ago, something like that was unimaginable. You see people, they've come to Madrid or they come to Dubai and you're like, hey, do you want to meet up? Or you stretch the arm out there, but they reject you. They're like, oh no. There's so much politics involved. But now with Titans of Tomorrow, with the Words of Wisdom, the way you guys set up the whole thing where everyone comes together, it was literally impossible 2 years ago.
The number one comment we would hear is you guys are the kings of networking. I didn't really feel like that. I just felt like, we're just going out and doing our thing.
When you're trying to network, you're 99% of the time you're networking up. So the person that you're going to speak to, he's either more successful than you, he's in a better position than you. Now you have to prove yourself to that person to a certain degree. When you have 1,000 people messaging you, how do you stand out? Or how do you become that person that stands out?
There's a few angles I can give where... Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another episode. Today is a boys only episode. No guests, it's just hanging out with the boys and we're going to have a chill one. We're going to see about a lot of topics. We've never done this before. Oh no, we have, maybe a few years ago, but it's the first time we're doing it in a studio and everything proper. We're just going to throw topics to each other and just have a chat. First of all, I wanted to kick off about the podcast itself, being that why we started it and so forth. First of all, it was probably most because of Riz. We've spoken about previously of why we got into it, we are curiosity driven, and it's one of those passion projects where it's probably not going to make money, and right now it's costing more because of the team and everything we have behind the scenes, 3 editors, shorts guys, the studio, producer, everything. But putting money into it has been worthwhile, and we've been surprised, as you know, that it's blown up. Especially me and Alex, we were the main hosts of it, and we were prepared for the grind for a year or 2 years before things pick up. I know Riz said that from 0 to 5K took him a year and a half.
Yep.
And then from 5K to 100K was 7 months. So you have to pay your dues. And that's what we were just like, okay, let's pay our dues and see where it goes. Riz was always pushing us. He was like, you guys should do it. You'll enjoy it and it's worthwhile. So we're like, okay, let's grind it out for a year. And then first episode, Riz comes in 70K. And then Raja, 80K. And then Urimi comes
250K at this point.
Yeah, we were just, and then the last few with Kyle and Raja, that's 130 at the moment. What's another one? Pasquale I just did, that's like 20 in a few days. Right now the channel has momentum, so it's very cool to see. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw it back to Riz and say, Riz, thank you very much for encouraging us, always supporting, mentoring us, always behind the scenes, giving us strategy, advice, all of these things. And we didn't really have to pay our dues. We're month 4 now. It's already picked off. But yeah, I want to start off with just the topic of Dubai. We moved over here as a 3, why we moved over here, and then the things we've been up to, and then also recently we had the yacht event. We met a lot of traders that were in town. So let's first off start with why we moved here as a 3.
Perfect. I think we've had plenty of conversations like this before, but I think it was more on restaurants or like between us. Yeah. Because we're business partners now for like 5 years. Maybe. Yeah, 5 years. So it's the first time that we're recording it, so it's going to be a cool one. I think one of the main reasons we moved to Dubai, I remember I was not too kind to move to Dubai. I remember we had the conversation. Maybe I had more of a stigma of like, I'm Christian, it's a Muslim country, even though of course I knew that there's a lot of expats and all of this. It's very far from home. I was already living in America for 4 years. Then I was back with my boys and my family. I was living in Madrid for a year, so I was like excited again to be also with my people. And you guys also were there, like we were living in Madrid for a year. So when the opportunity came, I think I was a bit opposed to it, or you guys were more inclined to it. And then I think it was good for the business overall, of course, moving here. But not only, I think it was not only even business. I think we thought farther of like why we should move into Dubai. Like, okay, tax is one thing, that's great. But there's plenty more of things that can come into place. And I think, of course, you guys can say too, but I think one of the main reasons is like we saw how the Middle East was going to be one of the upcoming places over the next 10 years. And yeah, I think also we trade, of course, as you guys know. We also have the educational company, as you guys know. But apart from that, we also are business people, and we want to be here for the next 10, 20 years doing different businesses. So we thought, okay, so we know we already have a good network between each other and people that we know. If we keep building that trust around very big businessmen, we can become also that point of trust or contact between Middle East and Europe, or contacts and friends that we have doing big businesses. So I think the move was pretty successful.
We're now coming into our third year.
Yeah.
What is your review now on the culture shock in a Muslim country and all of
Yeah,
that?
definitely. Like, I'm very surprised with the country. Like, I love it.
We got pictures of you in a kandora now.
Yeah.
Visiting a
Full
mosque,
kandora. Yeah.
sending pictures to your mom.
That you've converted.
No, I genuinely love it. I think that this is another topic that we can speak differently. But I think when you grow up, depending on what country, there are certain stigmas that you come across for media or things like this. And definitely the Muslim community on certain countries is not very well exposed on media. So that was more of my thing. But when I came here and then I saw how, of course I knew you guys, and then I live in America, I had a lot of Muslim friends, of course. But coming here and see how people are, how genuine, how friendly, like even the Emiratis, we have some friends also, like they're so helpful, always trying to help. They try to always welcome people to come here. So I believe that Muslim and Christian values are very, very close of what I can gather right now. So yeah, it feels like home. Genuinely, like I was even speaking to you guys that this is probably like I've lived in America 5 years, and when I was going to America, I never had the feeling of like, oh, I'm going back home. You know, even though I was living there for 5 years, it was always like, okay, I'm going back to America.
To uni,
You know, back to uni, back to whatever. But now coming I remember this summer here, September, we're coming back. It's the first time I land in the airport. I was like, I'm home. Finally, you know, like that kind of feeling of like I'm back into place, and it's just 2.5 years.
At the same time, do you feel like there is a culture shock? Like
No.
it's the environment you're in. Like you can have the full Middle East feeling, depending on the areas you go to and the people you're around, but you can also have the complete Ibiza style if you want, or whatever you choose from the city.
There is no culture shock, and at the same time, I think there's certain things that you cannot do on the Middle East, which I think is perfect. Like for example, drugs, of course, are not allowed. All these things. So I do believe that you have the best of everything, because you also have the party side, but there's no like in Europe where things that can get.
You have it without the chaos, though.
Exactly.
Without the hooligan, the fights, the brawls, the theft, all of that crap that you would see.
I think one thing that was quite surprising was you'll never see a drunk person on the road here.
Yeah.
Whilst in UK,
yeah, true.
Like after even if you leave your house at like 1 a.m. in the morning, you'll always come across drunk people arguing on the road.
Broken glasses, beer cans,
all of this kind of stuff.
People trying even to fight on the street. You know, you are out of a club, that happens a lot in Spain too. They will always try, or in America. In America it's the same. Like they will always try to find that moment of like, there's always that guy that is looking to that fight, and then you can be always in the middle.
You know, from the outside, when people see that, it's like, okay, Dubai is super safe, which is a pro.
Yeah.
I think the lens that they look at it is still negative somehow. They twist the positive into a negative of like, oh, it's because they're super strict and they'll chop your hands off. They'll have no freedom. You can't even do simple things like hold someone's hand in the street. Yeah. And when you're here, you realize it's nothing like that. I've never seen a police ever in 3 years or 2 years that I've been here. And I think it might be a case of not necessarily how maybe strong they enforce the law or whatever the repercussions are. I think the reality is no one gets to find out because no one takes it that far. They're just like, okay, Dubai is strict, let me behave. And everyone's just here thinking, okay, if I want to mess around, let me exit the country and mess around. Or if I want to do this or that, let me exit. But once I'm in Dubai, I'm going to behave. And I think everyone through that is just in a better way as opposed to a strict and you can't have freedom.
Yeah, and I also believe that's how society stays in place, because if you don't have strict rules, then this will be a jungle. Not even Dubai, like any other country or city in the world will be like a jungle when you can actually fight and then just go home or do whatever and just take 1K fine. Then everything becomes chaos.
The last few weeks when we had all of the traders in town, we had a bunch from the US, we had a bunch from the UK, Kimmel from Portugal. We had people from all over, and most of them, it was their first time here. And you could see that new feeling in Dubai. They were a little bit uneasy of like, oh, but this or that, or maybe everyone's like, and everyone had a break. At the end, they were just like, oh, it's not as expensive as I thought. Like, I remember Omar from New York, he was like, I'm paying $5 or $6K a month dollars for a normal apartment in New York. I was like, for that same money, you can live in a decent modern apartment. Just choose your area in Dubai. Everyone has that also look of like, Dubai has to be so expensive. It's relatively affordable, depends how you do it. And everyone at the end of the trip was just like, oh, maybe I'll be back. All of them were like, okay, we either moving back for 6 months, or I'm going to visit again in the next few months. So it's cool to see everyone's just kind of flocking to the side.
How was for you guys? Because of course you guys are Muslims, which I don't think is even an issue here, but like, but how was the whole move here? Did you already thought from the beginning you're going to stay for the next 10 years, 20 years?
Yeah, for me it was weird because I had I was in the UK obviously until I was 18, and because of my dad establishing himself as an immigrant man, he was moving job to job, and therefore I was in like 4 high schools. It was just moving different cities, and that was quite unsettling. So unlike both of you, actually, you have childhood friends since you were like literally since 1 year old. I don't have that same group that I've been brought up with since I was a kid because I was always moving around. So when it came to the age of 18, the last city I was in before I moved out, I was there for maybe 5 years or so. So that was my established place, and it was my high school friends or whatever. When I left, you realize that you think high school is everything, and then you grow up and you're like, okay, well, the world moves on, people grow up, especially at that age. And I kind of lost touch with everyone as the years went on. Maybe in touch with 1 or 2 people, but that's about it. And then my university, which was 6 years, that became the main chapter for me because I was now an adult and I was really building friendships that were childhood kind of feeling because I was living with people. I was, you're doing everything from exams together, stressing together, failing exams together, clinics, everything. So when you go through those struggles, that felt like your crew. And especially because everyone's away from their family, that felt like family. So when I had the 6 years in Madrid, that started to feel like home, as you said. So when I left Spain, or when I graduated, we actually decided where do we go. We didn't know where to go. So like, okay, let's just stay in Spain for a bit. So we stayed for like 4 months until we decided what we're going to do before we visited Dubai. So in those 4 months, I felt a bit like out of place. I was like, okay, well, Spain is my home, but I'm not Spanish and I don't fully speak the language, so I can't immerse. And the friends I have are either through extension of your friends or my old friends, which have now left. They've graduated and left. So then I started to feel like, okay, well, this is not the same feeling that I used to have. And then I was like, Spain, I love it. Beautiful place to visit, have a great time. But it was not my place. I couldn't settle in there in the same way. So then I went back to the UK and I spent a couple months there. That didn't feel right either because the last memory I had was basically high school. I'm now 7 years older. I'm now a doctor. I've changed everything about my life. And everybody in that city has left. They've moved to London. They've moved to Manchester, let's say, to pursue their career. So the people that were left in the hometown, they were doing the same things I remember they were doing at 18, partying, going out, whatever, working a normal job. And I just didn't have the same in common with them, or I didn't have the feeling like, okay, I'm not going to grow with these people. So I was just fully with family. That's all I did. Whenever I go back home, it's always with family. But that's not a way to always live in terms of at this age. That's kind of like when you've built your career, you're settling down, then you can chill with family. But then when I moved to Dubai, I was like, okay, Dubai serves everything I want. It's a place to build, it's a place to grow. It feels like home because it has everything that I would want. So for me, it's been the only place by process of elimination where I could end up with all the benefits that we know. And you've been back and forth the most actually.
Yeah,
here in the UK.
I think with me the whole move was a bit different, especially compared to you guys, because like I spent 9 years in a boarding school, and then I come home, and then it was like Islamic boarding school as well, so it was quite strict, and we had like a lot of different kinds of disciplines that were instilled in us. And I don't know, because of that, like my attachments to home and everything was quite, it wasn't as strong. Like for me, like this might sound a bit cold, but if I'm, no matter how much I love someone, whether it's my parents, whether it's my family, my wife, wherever it is, if I'm spending time away from them, but I know that they're all right, I'm all right as well. Like I don't crave to see people because
I think that's a very like masculine frame in terms of when you've, like you see all the, I speak to every time we're in a taxi, I speak to the drivers and they're always like, I'm from Pakistan usually. And like, oh, how long have you been in Dubai? 13 years. When's the last time you went back home? 3 years ago. I have 2 kids or whatever, but they're still content. And I think it's because the childhood you had, being away from home, whatever. It's just like, let me take care of my family. And that's the love you have there.
Like, that's not saying that there's no relationship there. The relationship is 100% there, but it's like, I'm okay with distance and all of these kind of things. So even when it came to moving to Spain, like I had no intention of moving to Spain.
Yeah.
It was, we lived together in London for, I think it was like 2 months, right?
Yeah.
And then you went back to Spain, you went back to Spain. And then I was like, you know what? Okay, I'll join you guys in 3 days. And I packed my bags and I left in 3 days. There was no thought or anything into it. Yeah. And I feel like Dubai was kind of the same. I was like, okay, if Dubai is going to enhance my chances of reaching my goals, then that's what it is. I'm just going to go. There was obviously some situations around it, like that played a factor into. Number one is with 3-4 hours ahead, depending on the time of year. So like now London sessions are 10:30 or 11:30. As in, if you wake up at 10:30, 11:30, you're good for the session. Whilst in Spain, we had to wake up at,
7 a.m.
Yeah.
Or 8 a.m. Yeah.
So that was a big factor. Also, like I get affected a lot by weather. Like if I see grey outside in UK, mentally I can't work. Like I'm logged off. But here, like when you wake up, the sun's out and everything. Sit on the balcony for 5-10 minutes, soak a bit of sun, and that's it. You're good to go for the day.
You live on the balcony. At any point of the day, you want to know where Waly is. He's on the balcony.
Like that's just how it is for me. So moving here, like there's one point we were talking about moving to Andorra, and I felt like that would have been depressing for me. Yeah. Because it's
now
in the
looking
middle
back,
of the
that would have
mountains.
been a huge L. Like, we would have saved on the tax. That's all we would have benefited, and that's it. We would have probably met no one. We've been in a mountain somewhere. It was just, this was the move.
Also, anyone listening that has always lived on like a cold place or like a cloudy place, just try, even though it's getting out of your comfort zone, to go and live 1 year into a sunny place. Like, it will change your life, because I'm from Spain. All my life I've been like on the sun, like I have sunny days and everything.
And you're
and
from Valencia as well, it's a beach city.
Yeah, and when I went to America, two or three of my years were at Cleveland, where it gets minus 25 degrees on Ohio for like, I don't know, like just cloudy days, snow, and it generally will affect my mood. Like, I didn't want to like do anything. Like, I remember even like, I'm a very social guy, and even like my friends would be like, bro, go and party one day. And I was like, I don't even want to go. Like, it's minus 25 degrees. I don't even want to go out, which it played in that moment of my life, played a huge benefit, because I was just focused on trading, and we were just doing like calls and calls back to back. But for anyone listening, like genuinely, like if you live on a cloudy place, rainy place, go and move out.
What it is, we were raised in the UK, so we're brought up with that. It's cold and it's rain, whatever. So I felt like people in the UK didn't know any better. So it's like this, if that's all you've known, it's fine. And I always thought it's absolutely fine. And you start to even maybe enjoy the rain, or like when it's freezing cold. I remember when I was playing sports when I was younger, you'd be like more excited when it was freezing, because like, you feel like you're tough. And then you leave that environment. And then I was in Spain, I was like, that's not a way to live. It's dark at 4 p.m. It's miserable. It's grey. And then you realize, okay, it affects everything. And then that's why Dubai, again, another tick. Let's jump into the topic of the people we met. So we had the boats event. You didn't make it that day, but let's speak about all the traders we had. Well, first of all, it was wild because it was just something we were gonna do. Like, let's just host it and see what happens. And then Riz was like, all right, let's do it together. Like, okay, let's do it as a Titans of Tomorrow / Words of Wisdom kind of thing. And then I remember we invited some people, he invited some people, and so I think the total guest list was like 20 people, or maybe just under. So we booked a boat accordingly to 20 people. And then the day of or the night before, everyone invited a +1. And, do you mind if I bring these 2 traders? Do you mind if I didn't know, have a clue what half these people were. That guest list grew from 20 to like 45. So, okay, we got to upgrade the boat. We got to change everything. But yeah, let's talk about your experience there on the boats and meeting everyone.
Yeah, I think something that maybe we have never networked before with a lot of traders. We knew some, of course, but I think because we were already between each other, we didn't have that necessity of like meeting extra people. But I think, as we already mentioned, Riz has put together like an amazing community on like actually people that might even have a conflict of interest, because the businesses might even like cross in there or whatever. They're still like happy to network, happy to speak about their trading and everything. So I think it was like a very positive thing. Genuinely, like I think we've met like very nice people, hardworking people, or super young also, like our age, or even a bit younger, where they're doing like amazing things on the prop firm space or even on their own accounts. So I think it was a great experience to meet them all. I think they actually felt the same, where they were like, this was great to actually like meet all together, network, also like speak about business, because a lot of the conversations we were having on the yacht, it was not even like a trading. Of course, then they came home or the office, and then we were speaking about trading. But like a lot of them were like, where we can put the money next, no? Because at the beginning you don't have money, and then you want to make money. But now you're trading, you have money. It's like, okay, once I start making money, what I can do next? Is Dubai a good move for business potential opportunities in the future? So a lot of these things, they were like very, very, very good conversations. What do you think about it?
I think it was more like, as you said, but it was weird for me to watch, because every single one of them has been more or less following each other or heard about all of each other. And you could sense like they know each other through online. So they felt like they had so much in common. But then when you step back, you're like, we've never actually spoke before. Be like, I've been seeing your YouTube videos, I've watched your stories every day for 4 years. And that vibe was there. It's like everyone knows everything about each other, but no one knows each other. So then when you have that environment of everyone's meeting for the first time, and I think majority of the people haven't collaborated, have never met in person, or had even a phone call or a Zoom call or something. It was all just Instagram and Twitter. To then actually be in person, and the lifeline or the heartbeat of that was just Riz. Everyone's either done a podcast with Riz or Riz is connected through them, but he's the gel between all of that. Yeah. We didn't know half of them. Maybe a lot of them didn't know us. Yep. So it was all through Riz just connecting that industry. And as you said, half of them could have maybe had some Forex Twitter beef or issue with each other at some point, but now that's never going to happen because they've met, made memories, they become friends, and afterwards they've maintained friendships. It's brought people together. One thing that struck me was I felt old. Like no one there was like our age. I mean, I'm older as well, but like it was like some of them 18, 19, 20, 100K on YouTube, 50K on YouTube, young gunners, like people doing bits. And I was like, man, we're the old people now. I felt young, but I'm not, which was interesting to see. But they're all like, maybe just looking for advice. So like, I've seen you guys are in the industry for 7 years. This is my second year. What advice? And it was just a nice, always positive, respectful conversation. And just to see everyone's fire of like, oh, I'm thinking to do this. I'm thinking to move. I'm thinking to do that. I'm thinking of starting this project. It reminded me of our earlier days of like, we're just about to move to Dubai. We're just about to do this. And since that boat, that's when everything started to come again for us, like a phase 2 of the podcast started to do well. The YouTube channel was picking up, the Twitter's picking up. So that fire was, I think, from seeing 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds burning to go. And I'm like, oh, well, we got to do the same.
Yeah, and I think even though I didn't go to the yacht event, but the Top Golf later, and then it was your birthday in Cabana that we did, if you remember.
A million surprises for my birthday, you guys.
Yeah. One thing that was interesting was just seeing that yacht event must have been a really good icebreaker where everyone got to know each other. But like 2 years ago, something like that was unimaginable.
Yeah,
it was unimaginable. Even there's times where people have come into, I'm not going to mention any names, but you see people, they've come to Madrid or they come to Dubai and you're like, hey, do you want to meet up? Or you stretch the arm out there, but they reject you. They're like, oh no, because they don't want to, like a picture of both of you being taken together where, I don't know, they give credibility to the other person or
it's all the politics.
There was so much politics involved. But now with Titans of Tomorrow, with the Words of Wisdom and like the way you guys set up the whole thing where everyone comes together, like everyone's competing against each other, but everyone at the same time is friendly with each other. In Top Golf, like that bit of friendly banter and everything that was there. It was literally impossible 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's why SFT is gonna smash it. Is because obviously there's certain prop firms that are maybe run by traders, but majority not. And then they've come in where they've taken hundreds of thousands from prop firms, had that journey, super relatable. I think Paladin is like the most relatable guy where he was working a normal job and then, made it through prop firms and at a young age. That's why his brand blew up, I think, because people are like, oh, I see myself in Paladin and that relatability. And then now they're seeing, okay, now they're doing something back for the community. They made it and then did something back for the community. And they're not just doing a replica of FTMO or the other ones. They're doing a real community of like, let's bring out TFT traders to fund the trade. Yeah, TFT traders and SFC traders, and let's have a competition. And it's not really a competition, like nothing's gonna happen. Because everyone meets, everyone have a good time. Let's make a video, Netflix movies out of it. They're sharp, man. And that kind of stuff when we had each other. But let's say I was just at home in my hometown, small town, and I'm trying to trade by myself. None of my high school friends are doing it. No one I know is doing it. I just have some Discord groups that I've maybe made some virtual friends, but I've never even seen their face. And then you watch those videos of people in Dubai on a yacht, people in Dubai playing Top Golf, people in Dubai having a boxing fight. They're all traders. They're all, growing together, making money together. I'd be sitting thinking, man, I want to be there. I want to be part of that movement or community. And I think SFT going from Miami or just different cities and doing these events just puts exposure out there to the name. But beyond just the prop firm, it's like, okay, the movements. And you see the ripple effects of, Riz bringing people together, people uniting, and then maybe collaborating in a few years. You never know, two people that might have met in this week in Dubai, maybe down the line, like, yeah, you want to, they've stayed in touch. Let's do business. Let's do something. Let's collaborate on that idea. And that's how things start. So it's another shout out to Riz. He's just really pushed a movement out into in the industry.
And leaving the yacht aside, but like keeping on the networking side, I think we've met a lot of big people in Dubai. Some of them in socials, like they're on social media. Some of them they're not. So I don't know if you guys want to touch on anyone that especially like has actually had a certain impact on yourself, or like actually you've seen and then get motivated to be like, hey, he's doing great things. He's actually pushing myself to even keep going harder. Things
it was interesting because we obviously feel like the most regular people, normal people, because this is how we've just lived our day to day. But it was interesting to see the reactions of the people that we haven't met before, but they've been following us, let's say. And we have a small brand. So they'll come up to us like, you guys are and the comments we would always hear, the number one comment we would hear is, you guys are the kings of networking. And I didn't really feel like that. I just felt like, oh, we're just going out and doing our thing. But that was the major comment. Like, oh, you guys, how do you know them? How do you know that? How do you network? And maybe it came more intuitively to us. But then when I've reflected on those comments, when you put yourself out there, when you move to a city like Dubai, I think it helps being in a 3. If I move to Dubai alone,
100%.
And how do you build off that? But then you'll meet some people, and then I'll meet some people, and then we do a dinner, combine them, they bring friends. Like, it's just what's a virus? You know, it's just compounds and compounds. But I think to that intuitive side, there's a couple of stories that maybe come to mind of like how it was maybe a bit more effective beyond just you met someone, had a 30-second conversation and nothing ever again, versus you met someone and maybe built a friendship or had left a mark on someone. So there's a few angles I can give where, I don't know if you guys know this one, but maybe like 6 months ago, Jack, who did a podcast with the CEO of Testosterone, I met him through Hamza, who's another big YouTuber. So Hamza I met in the gym. I was just in the gym, bumped into him, went up to him, said hi, whatever. And it was cool to see because he's got such a big audience that in the gym, he got approached like 10 times in that same gym session that I approached him. And I could see it, but he asked for my number and we stayed in touch. And that was just because of kind of the conversation we had. He recognized, okay, I'm living in Dubai and maybe on a similar wavelength. So we built a friendship from that. Hamza invited me to a couple of dinners, and through that I met Jack. So now Jack, we built a very small connection, acquaintance, let's say, and then he was in Thailand. So he posted he was in Dubai. He was like, I'm trying to do a podcast with Justin Waller, but I don't know how to do it. Anybody know what I can do? So then I thought, okay, let me help him out. We've had a conversation before. Let me just book a studio. So I organized everything, organized the studio, paid for everything. I just told him, look, the studio is done, booked for this time. Does that work for you? And again, I could have done it in another way of like, hey man, I know a studio, contact this number. But I thought, let me just take care of it. That little thing of let me take care of it, that effortlessness, that I think is a bargaining chip or like, a memory for them. Like, oh, he helps me out. So then when I did that, he was like, okay, well, hey, come through, make sure. I was more like, I can come to the podcast and make sure everything's smoothly ran and everything. Me thinking, okay, that's an opportunity for me to enter the room now. Of like, okay, now I can be in the vicinity of Justin Waller and the other guests that were there and Jack as well and maintain a friendship. So that became an excuse from a DM of here's a studio to I'm going to come with you. And that was just me covering it. Now when I'm there, I thought, okay, how am I going to leave a mark again? And especially because Justin, I'm not on the podcast. I'm just a guy sitting there. So rather than me looking like an assistant, how do I look like an equal or someone that is worth having a conversation with? Especially because Justin is probably 1 million people meeting him all the time that he's not going to remember people and faces. So I thought, let me go a little bit more presentable. So I didn't go in with any intention or anything aggressive. I just went in, covered the studio, made sure everything was running smoothly. I thought, let me bring everyone a gift. But giving a gift is such a delicate thing because if you just throw money on a gift, you look silly. You're like, why are you trying to be extra? If you do something that's just cheap, let's say, it doesn't have the desired effect, but there's a balancing. So I thought, what could be something that is not trying to do too much or do the most, but still will leave a mark or memory in the head. So I thought, so there's 4 people there, 2 guys I didn't know, and then I don't think they're big on social media, and then Jack and Dario was another one that's not big on social media, but that's someone we became friends with. So I thought there's 2 big profile names and 2 smaller profile names. And I know the two big ones from social media, the other 2 I don't know. So I didn't feel like it was right to give them equal gifts because the guys that don't know me, they're going to be like feeling very like, oh man, you really shouldn't have. So I thought, okay, let me balance that. So I got 2 books, just books that I've read. And I thought to the 2 guys that don't have a social media presence, when I heard the conversation, what they were speaking about, it was perfect because I had a couple of books in my bag. So one of them was a military guy, ex-military, and I had a book about a military guy, his story. So I was like, man, I read this book and it really reminds me of you and the conversation you've had on the podcast. I think you'll enjoy this book. So I gave him the book. And then Dario, I also gave another book. And then Justin and Jack, as I know, they dress sharp. They like to make sure that everything's tailored, looking sleek. So I just gave them a pair of shoes each. Justin is way bigger than I thought. Like he's way taller, way just massive guy. So I estimated his shoe size. I think size 11 UK. I don't know what that is in US. This is big shoes, man. I'm a size 9, so it's massive shoes. And then he gave it to him. He's like, "Thank you, bro, but these are not going to fit." He gave it to his assistant. But that was the thing of like, I could see he was like, he was very thankful back. I said, man, I've watched your content. You've really helped me. You've really motivated me through tough times, whatever. I just want this as a small gesture. I never asked for anything. Didn't ask for a picture or anything. Just left it in. But he was more like, man, you really shouldn't have. This is incredible. No one's ever done something like this. Let's go grab dinner after. So then that's how I entered into the dinner afterwards, where it could have been, I just sent a DM and it would have stopped at that. Or let me cover the studio. Now I'm in the room. Now how do I go from the room to the dinner? It's okay, remember, provide value. Providing value was, you guys have had a podcast, everything taken care of, a small gift. And now that small gift allowed me an opportunity to have a 30-second conversation. So now Justin was in and out. And that's how he is. He did 3 podcasts on that day. So he's not hanging around. He's just coffee, speak, leave. But that gave me a 30-second window. When I gave him the gift, he was like, hey man, so what do you do? And that was enough for me to just have a conversation that maybe wouldn't have happened. That hasn't led to anything, but that's not the point. It's more like you do this kind of behavior again and again on a long-term horizon, you will meet people. It's just inevitable. And you will build connections. And I think that's kind of the style of things that maybe is the intuitive thing that, so how do you guys meet people? It's just being out there in the right way.
And I think that's the mistake that a lot of people make where, and I think that's why networking has been like, I don't know, I won't say it comes naturally to us, but we were just more being ourselves. But it was, when 2 people meet and one person is only trying to extract value, then the other person can read, especially when you're networking with high-level people where they're aware of all of these things, like especially like with
Social
people like
media guys,
Justin Waller, Sartorial, Andrew, all of these lot. They're probably used to people always trying to leech off them in one way or the other, and they're trained to be able to spot that within seconds. So when you're sitting in the room with them and all you're trying to do is take,
flex that
acting
you're
like
with
a fan. Trying to take pictures with them, all of these kind of, I think there's hundreds of people that we've met that there's no pictures or anything to prove that we ever met them.
Of course.
But then you just check your phone and, okay, now there's a 6-month running conversation with them.
I think that's something we've always done, but it's when we met Tate, when we met Andrew, that's the first time we verbalized it between each other. Like, let's not take a picture. I don't know why we said it to each other. Maybe because it was the biggest profile person we met. It was more like, let's not take a picture. And we just knew between each other, we're not going to take a picture. More because you take a picture, you're now in the fan category. You don't take a picture, he'll be thinking, why? Maybe he didn't, but like,
maybe
big
he
people
doesn't,
think, why didn't he take a picture? Maybe he's not bothered. Maybe it's because they, it's the etiquette of meeting people. But yeah, to finish off that story of Jack Dario and their guest, I went to the event. It was a war room kind of dinner, and I was the only one there that was not a war room person. So I already felt like a bit of an outsider, but it was a cool opportunity to meet people that I thought the war room was going to be like a Tate fan club of just everyone trying to extract value from each other and everybody just trying to make it. Whereas when I went to the dinner, everyone seemed like a decent guy. In shape, they're all like semi-fighters at that point. They're all, doing business. And I think because they pay a high ticket, it's a filtration process. And then since then, Jack and Dario were happy with, or thankful that I covered the studio and so forth. That opened the door for them to come on our podcast. And then after that, they covered a dinner bill a couple of times. They gave me a gift back as well. So it was just, that good energy. Like you gave value, they give value back. That's how you make friendships and build bonds, as opposed to, hey, Jack, do you want to come on the podcast? Hey, Justin, do you want to come on? It's taking. It's never going to lead to anything.
Also, you invest in people long term. So a lot of things also what happen is, like, I believe on the networking side, you always need to have your business or your thing going on. That's super important. You need to have that trading, whatever, e-commerce, whatever you're doing, that has to be there and has to be going on. And then all these relationships, the way at least myself, and I think probably you guys see the same, is all kind of investments into the future. You're not looking for anything for them. Like we've met thousands of people we will never do business with. Not in a bad way, more like probably there will never be a collaboration or something. But it's just always an investment, because when you treat people good, you're having these sort of details, a lot of people will think cheap about it, of like, why I should give this? Why I should put out of my pocket this? Why I should cover today's bill on the club? Or why should I cover today's bill on the restaurant? But in reality, you're just leaving a small mark in there. Then if anything happens in the future, people see that you are a guy that they're going to trust, that you build that relationship, that you are a person of honor or whatever you want to call it. And therefore, there could be something in there. For example, we right now are not in that business, but Dario, for example, right? He also has a 7-figure business when it comes into like convertible bonds and all of this. So we are not in that business, but who knows if 5-7 years down the line,
something.
my family starts a business back home of that in Spain because it's an upcoming thing, and then I can do a collaboration with him, and he's been on the business for 15 years. Now you have a person that you know he's been doing 15-year business with this, and they will actually have the door open for you to even ask for advice and things like this.
Is people think networking is how can I meet people to take from them or achieve something, when that's not what a network is. That's leeching. Network is I have access to people, and just having access to people means if I text them, they'll answer. I have access to their, and then maybe it's 2 years down the line, maybe it's never, but when you want that something, you've got enough goodwill, you've got that friendship, you've shared moments together, that having a conversation for advice or whatever, it becomes a little bit more organic and natural. And that's actually something I've done with the podcast as well. And I think that maybe has played a difference, where a lot of the guests we've had, it's not their first podcast. They've done podcasts before. So it's just the presentability. One of the objectives of the podcast was let's meet people and let's do that on steroids, where you have a conversation with them, you've got access to them. It's a chance to showcase what you each other know, what you have in common, and then maybe that ends at that. You don't have a conversation after that. But I thought, let me do everything different. So little touches, as you said, of like, you're not trying to do the most, you're not trying to be extra, but it's always thought. It's not about money. It's not about who you know or how what you're wearing. It's about the thought that goes in. So the gifts that I was giving, it was not look how much I can afford. It's more like, a book is $5. It's more the thought of the book or the shoes. I know that they would like to wear those shoes. So the little thing is like, whenever we invite a guest, they can either just make their way to the studio, or we send a driver. Driver comes, picks them up, takes them to the studio, waits for them, takes them back to the hotel or location. That's something that guests will remember. Okay, that was different. Then we always try to give a gift. And it's always hard because you always got to give a gift that's not a pen or not something that's like a Tate tomorrow hat, because that's promotional. So it's always, and every guest is different. So we've always balanced that. I think the one we nailed was Ahmed, the largest supercar rental company in the Middle East. So I'm not into cars too much, so I didn't really have a thing of like, oh, let me achieve something here. But I thought, what's a cool gift we can give him? And it was in the moment we were filming. He refreshed his phone after we filmed, and at that moment he hit 1 million subscribers on TikTok, or 1 million followers on TikTok. So I could see he was so like almost tearing his eye of like, I made it. Kind of, it's a big moment, especially because if you watch that podcast, the backstory he had, literally working at McDonald's from Australia, from zero, coming to Dubai, biggest fleets, Bugatti Chiron. That guy really made it. Now we're always with the celebs, always with French Montana, the baby, and all these rappers, and crazy business. So I thought, okay, that's a door I want to keep open, and I don't really have anything to offer him. I don't think he has anything to offer me in a business way, but that's someone cool to have in your circle. So I thought, what could I give? And this guy's way wealthier than we are. So there's nothing there for me to like impress him with. So I thought, let me give him something that's thoughtful. I thought, okay, he's just hit a milestone. What could I do to congratulate him? So I was like, okay, I was looking at cards, I was looking at gifts, whatever. And then I came across a website that was customized cakes. So we sent him a customized LaFerrari cake. It was the most expensive cake I think I've ever seen. But I just sent it to his showroom, and the message back, he was like, "Man, that you really shouldn't have. Anything you ever need, if you ever want a car or something, let me know. Thank you." It was not a case of you trying to impress me or something. It's just like, wow, thank you, and that's now a door open. I think that's kind of the way you network. It's always putting thought into your network, always trying to give, because people will always remember you if they receive more than they gave. And because then, okay, well, I owe this guy or something like that. And you just do that over time, and it builds, and it's a ripple effect, because then it compounds. You meet one person, then it's like, oh, you know that guy. Oh, yeah, no. And then snowball.
I think a lot of people that when you're hearing this, it might seem to you like it's all superficial to a degree, or it's all transactional. But that's the thing. When you're trying to network, you're 99% of the time you're networking up. So the person that you're going to speak to, he's either more successful than you, he's in a better position than you, he's doing more than you. That's why you want to get to know him. Now, you have to prove yourself to that person to a certain degree. It's your job to prove yourself. So when you do these little things and you open that door of conversation, that builds the foundation to actually build a genuine relationship and the friendship that comes after. But the thing is, when you have 1,000 people messaging you, how do you stand out? Or how do you become that person that stands out? Like, especially like, for example, Ahmed, he's got 1 million followers on TikTok. Well, 1 million plus now. That was a couple of months ago. How many DMs do you think he has? But then when you reached out to him for the podcast, you reached out to him through a DM, didn't you?
So that's the thing I wanted to touch upon. Is like, it's the transactional feeling that some people can feel of like, this is too strategic, it's not organic, you're not really building friendships. You have to realize friends is one thing, that's us, and then a network is another thing. I'm not going to call up there's someone that I've done a podcast with, or that's not, it's a network. I'm not going to call him up on a Tuesday and say, hey, let's go chill at the beach. Like that's what you do with your friends, but you're not going to do with your network. Your network is accessibility, and maybe it's just a case of like supporting each other. Maybe it's a shout out, hey man, you're crushing it here, good work, congratulations on the milestone. Maybe it's a case of I'm in that city. Do you have any recommendations? It's always access to that, which is why it always has to remain kind of that feeling of strategy. But I think it always boils down to, you met them, you've given them value, they maybe have a window of time to at least speak about yourself, to say, okay, you've proven yourself to me, but then that can also just end there. So I think it's then what happens beyond that, which is your online presence it's the day and age of online. And Instagram, for example, is your online CV, like it or not. And I used to be so against it, which is why I have so little posts, because I was one of those anonymous accounts. So I had no posts for the longest time until I realized it has a value to it. So now when people come on and I've met someone, let's say, and then, or you met someone out, for example, and then they wake up the next morning, they're looking at their phone, I just followed this guy, Alex, and then they see your profile, they're seeing little hints of like, okay, this guy's doing well, this guy's living like this is who he knows, this is our mutuals. And I think that's something as little as you DM someone that's a high profile guy, and he clicks on your profile, and then he sees, oh, we have 7 people in common. And those 7 people are my friends. They're already thinking, okay, who is that person? We have something in common. And then they go through your profile, and it's little hints. You got to show that you're doing well. You're not trying to make it. You maybe even if you're not the biggest level guy, but you're just showing. What's it called? I forgot the term, but there's YouTube videos I've watched, and of like, you got to build your Instagram in a certain way, which I haven't done the best at, but it's showing your presence of like, you're not just a random dude, but you're trying to, whether that's the social people you're around, whether that's you're into fighting or fitness, for example, showing accolades of like, I'm this kind of person, to then have your foot in the door, so then they might reply to your DM, for example.
And that's kind of everything we were speaking before of like these small gifts, thoughtful gifts, is always the opening door. But then we also have the option, the situation, for example, with my friend Patty, of course, is your friend too now, all of you guys. And when we came to Dubai, we had different options to where we book our apartment, right? Which is not the only option we had. And she was a bit more expensive of going with other people, but she does things, in our opinion, better. So he said, let's go with her, because I think she's going to take care better of us. Anything that happens is going to be there. So then after that, we just build a relationship of like friendship, of like, she likes also to go out. She's been very socially. She's from Spain too. So after that, after becoming friends, same thing. I've never give her anything. Well, now it was her birthday, so I did, but like as a friend. But was never even a small gift, but our relationship grew because I was just asking her good questions that would make her think better about her business and make better decisions. So then that slowly, because I will never try to give advice to someone about their business, because that also can come with arrogance or like, what you're trying to do, like, look, I'm running this for 7 years, what are you gonna do now? So it's always asking good questions, so they think about things, how they can improve and do better, and slowly he starts to call me more. Like, hey, I have this and I don't know what to do. And all these things was a genuine relationship, like just built genuinely. And now after that, like, she's also introduced me to so many people and so many clients. And this is another thing. There's nothing that you can bring to a person like this when it comes into like, what are you going to give her, you know? So
more to give context to people watching. Patty is a VIP concierge. So she's doing boats, yachts, villas on the Palm, whatever, to high level guys that don't care about a budget. And they're just like, I just want the best experience, the VIP, take care of everything. So we were coming in as probably the smallest clients she had in terms of net worth or whatever, because she's literally dealing with billionaires at that point. But then that's what you recognize. You're like, okay, let's go through her. It's we're getting a penthouse that we don't need, but just through that, I can work the relationship because she's from Spain and we have a lot of things in common. And now 2 years later,
like she's literally my best friend in Dubai.
And she's always, whenever she's like, I'm having a meeting or a lunch with this person, I'm trying to close a deal with him. Can you come and assist me? And that's actually, I don't know if we can say, but certain high level people that you met that are trying to book a villa. She was like, I don't know, the high level guys, I don't know how to close them. I feel a little bit. Can you just come and assist me?
Yeah,
so
because
that's how you enter the room.
Yeah, and depending on the profile, right? Like she's a woman. So there's certain profile that, might need that guy in there. For example, she was closing a very big villa, and then she needed some assistance. Like she knows how to close everything. She's been doing this for like very long time now. But that small touch of me being there, like something happened with the owner. So she had to assist the owner. And then I had to stay with the clients and then entertain them for a bit. But the entertaining came just because of the watches, speaking about watches and all this. And then therefore they didn't leave because these people, you don't give them those 10 minutes. They will literally bounce, get the car, go away and just find another person. And that ended up closing the deal for 3 months. So these are small things that, again, I'm not making anything out of it. Like I'm not even in her industry. We're never going to collaborate, things like this. He's just my friend, but grows like that. And then we just made friendships. He's introduced me to so many people, high net worth individuals, and just grows from there. Like, again, we're not looking for anything, but maybe 5 years down the line, one of her clients and I might do a business, but also maybe with her, you know, like together. So it just grows naturally. And then from there.
Well, she's already told us, like, if you want the CEO of JetX, she is a good friend of mine. We could do a podcast with him. You want to do a podcast in the jet?
Yeah.
I can help that. Or you,
Patty, we'll have to do that.
We're going to call you for that one.
Yeah.
Or a Villa on the Palm, you want to do a podcast? Let's do it.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I want to ask, because that she's been in the nightlife and the concierge scene in Dubai for so long, almost a decade, that she knows the top venues, she knows the top owners of the top clubs and top restaurants and everything. And she's also referring them top clients that spend the most. So the restaurants know her, she knows the restaurants, for example. How is that affected in your, because me and Waly don't go out, but more in the nightlife networking style?
It's huge.
Of top places, top tables and all of that kind of stuff. How has that played out for you?
Yeah, 100%. He's huge because she literally is called the Queen of Dubai, and it's for a reason. And it's because she's literally worked like for 9 years now in Dubai, which is a long time. 9 years.
What was her record? She booked the most expensive...
the most expensive villa for 2021, if I'm not wrong, maybe 2020, but like she did a record for that. I also forgot about the number, but it was pretty big.
Huge, yeah.
Pretty big. But yeah, he has basically she was booking the best tables. She was working first as a PR, booking tables on the nightlife. She did probably one of the best in Dubai. And then after that, she transferred all her clients into villas, private jets and all of this, because she had like a good client list. So of course he's played a massive role for me, because there's so many times that I go with her and we party or we go out, and the circle is always very good. The owners of the places, clubs, or people that manage all of this, they literally is like, Patty Poppy is here, so it's all entrance.
A friend of hers is a friend of mine,
Yeah. Or even situations like where there's certain places in Dubai where if you're not just going with girls, they will not even allow you to enter. And maybe I'm with a friend, you know, and we don't want to go with girls, you know, like, so even small touches like that of like just, oh, you can come, you know,
access
on very private places in Dubai and things like this. So it's just like so many small things that plays out.
I think beyond that, because you've said it so many times, Dubai is big and there's so many people, but it's also not that big.
It's not that big.
In the sense of if you go to the same places every week, and you're on the top table, the guys next to you on the other tables are the same crew over time. I think that's kind of almost a hack you've had here through Patty, which is a lot of these tables have a minimum spend. It's like you got to come with X amount of girls, let's say, but beyond that, you got to spend an X amount. And if you were doing that in a regular way, you'd be spending like 100K in a year probably, or probably even more. But you've been doing it in a lot more affordable way.
I'm sure
through
some of these
the
places
relationship.
100K a night as a minimum.
Yes, I think for example, you said Surf Club is what, 50K minimum for the, and that's not even a nightclub. That's just like an evening.
I mean, it's also the best table, but like the best tables.
That's what I mean. But it's more a case of
you've
had stories where you said like, I'm on this top table, and out of the reputation and relationship that Patty has with the place, you've now been involved in that scene for 2 years now. Now you're able to get access to a top table, but you just spend as much as you want. So you still spend a good amount to not be disrespectful to the owner.
Of course.
Because they could also sell it for 50K for that night. But then the guys around you that are there every week also, they don't know that. They don't know you didn't spend.
It's still expensive nights.
Yeah, because you got it.
Yeah, but there's not at the level that maybe it should be.
Yeah, but it's more like now you're seen regularly, and then you said so many times that there's some billionaire guy would just send a bottle to your table.
Oh yeah.
It's like this. You like they just sent it as like
literally like 2 weeks ago. Like there's just some Russian probably oligarch in there, and then he looks to me like that, and he's like this, literally like this, and I was like, I don't know if that's good or bad. I was just looking there. I don't even know if that's good or bad. I'm like, and then he's like, looks to my bottles, and he's like, 3 more. And I thought he was telling me to order 3 more. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm good. And then he comes and he's like, he didn't even speak good English. He had a translator in the like his own translator on the club. So the translator says, he said the name. It's like, this guy really liked you not in a
What does it mean? He likes you?
yeah, like in terms of like
vibe.
he liked your vibe. So he's going to send you 3 bottles. And I'm like, no. Genuinely, like, I appreciate the gesture, but it's all good, blah, blah. He sends 3 bottles and then he tries to pay for the whole bill of the table.
Jeez.
And I'm like, no. I appreciate the 3 bottles now, but don't pay for the rest of the bill. Just small things like this. And then again, gave me the contact. Again, probably we might not even speak, him and I, but like small things like this, you never know who you bounce to, and more so in Dubai.
What that is? That's an example of what we said, someone doing it to you because they want access to you because they probably seen you around.
Yeah.
Then let me get to know him a
On
little
a big
bit.
table regularly.
Yeah.
True. I think we're running out of time. We've just come up to the hour mark. We actually didn't touch on much on trading. We had a list of topics, but I guess we got chatting there. But I like this format. We just hang out and talk about whatever comes to mind. We'll definitely do it, like, let's say 1 every 5 episodes. But yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you made it to the end, it's just the boys episode hanging out. Let us know if you like this, and we'll try and do some more if you are interested in it. Cheers.